Alright everyone, hello and welcome back to Watching Walford. Today it's about halfway through the year, so we're going to go through all of the stuff from January to June and select some very precious awards to give out on this lovely occasion. I'm suited and booted to the nines. How are you doing, Piggy?
I'm doing pretty good. Obviously, now for people, I'm going to give the exact date this has been recorded at and the exact time. It's being recorded at 10:10 on the 5th of July. So if you're wondering why, I don't know, fucking Lisa Fowler is not in this. Like, it's being recorded on the 5th of July.
Yeah.
We don't have a time machine.
I suppose also we have specifically made... This is going to be the halfway soap awards. So it's going to be all the episodes from January to June. So that is the time frame that we've picked all of our picks of the awards, the nominations, and that's the criteria essentially.
Yeah, that's it. This is my idea. Obviously, for people who have a keen eye, you know I have ripped off a certain cult.
Indeed.
But they do wrestling. We do soaps. Now,
we're not ripping off, we're repurposing.
Repurposing. Now, I should clarify, I am just doing EastEnders. So, my nominees are just EastEnders. Ashes can be from any soap, excluding Fair City, and Home and Away and Neighbours, because Home and Away is Australian and Neighbours hasn't come back yet. Exactly. So Ash can't go.
To be fair, I will say the bulk of my picks are just EastEnders based. The only one I'm gonna spiral into slightly other territory is the best show of the year, because I'm not gonna lie about that one. But for the most part, it is just EastEnders because it's on brand, isn't it?
It is our brand. Sorry, I'm eating an ice cream as well.
I suppose Piggy will be kind of hosting this one. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to get right into it? Do you want
Let's get into these awards.
So, our first award, if you don't mind flashing something on the screen, or do a clap so that reminds you.
Bit A, bit of B. Maybe I'll do something, maybe I won't.
Our first award is Best Newcomer. So this is from January to June. So this eliminates people like Reiss, but you can pick from Theo Hawthorne or anyone else from any other soap.
Very true, very true. Obviously, Best Newcomer, as we suggested, is from January to June, so anybody who's fresh on the square and showed up out of the blue. Honestly, there weren't too many nominations. You have thrown Theo in there, and I kind of completely forgot about him somehow. So he's not on my list, and he wouldn't be anyways, because he hasn't really shown up too much. My nominations were... I did put Reiss Colwell on there, just because technically he did debut in December, but he had 2 appearances and then, fucked off for a month. So... at a stretch.
I will allow it.
But otherwise, the newcomers all went to members of the Knight family, that being George, Gina, and Anna. Who are your picks?
Obviously, I would have picked Reiss, but I kind of don't want it to make it sound like I'm tooting his horn a lot. So I disqualified him.
Yeah.
Theo would have been my pick, but EastEnders, at the time of recording this, haven't put much interest in him. Obviously, at the time of recording this, he's being nominated for best villain of the year.
Yes.
Which is very questionable, unless it's when your aunt does a cheeky fart, but it's actually her tooting her horn.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's maybe it's distraction.
They definitely... I don't think it's a distraction. I just think they jumped the gun a little bit too early. Maybe you shouldn't have Maybe you should have waited, because so far we've only seen that he's slightly creepy. And as a recording, I'll be honest, this is on the 5th of July. It was revealed that he is Stacey's only fan. person. So,
has it?
yep, has been revealed as of today's episode.
Oh,
but I suppose Piggy, who were your picks? Otherwise,
I can't really count Elaine because she's not a newcomer. She's been recasted.
Yeah.
But best newcomer for me is going to go not to the Knight family, but to George Knight himself, because he's probably going to be in most of my nominees.
Yeah.
Because just like Reiss, I love Reiss because the actor Johnny Freeman plays him so well. I love Theo Hawthorne because William Ellie something.
I don't know what his name is.
It's William something. I follow his Instagram. Hopefully I can slide into names though. There was DMs maybe. George Knight doesn't have an Instagram, or whoever plays George Knight. I need to Google his name for the future.
Colin Salmon.
Colin Salmon, thanks. So George Knight is my pick because he plays an tremendous person, like a tremendous person.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be on the show in like 5 years' time, simply because he seems like he's a big actor. Well,
yes.
Well, not like people, when we say big actors, we don't mean like he's going to be in the next Fast and Furious. He's going to be in the next like fucking IT Crowd reboot. Like he's not going to be famous, but he's
he could easily famous. Basically he could probably get a lot of other acting jobs
in the UK.
Yeah, I suppose just to tack onto that, my pick for best newcomer as well is George Knight. As much as I would have loved to have given it to Gina or Anna, they haven't really been fleshed out nearly as much as they could. But the way they introduced George and how concise and how quickly they managed to completely distract from Lola just dying into introducing this really like respectable, strong, like he became immediately one of the most like known people on the square, and they just made him feel important. So yeah, he gets best newcomer for me. The main issue I have is I do agree with you, Piggy. I only see him staying on the show for like 2 to 3 years maximum. I feel like I feel like he could probably just go somewhere else whenever he wants, you know. So that's the main issue, but fundamentally, great new character. Probably the best one they've introduced in years.
It's the same with it's sorry. See, I think that's where the difference is between Danny Dyer and Salmon. Is I'm just going to refer to my Salmon because that's all I can think of. Is like Danny Dyer is still young. Well, he's somewhat young compared to Salmon. So like,
yeah,
you would rather kill off George Knight because like he does have fuel in the tank, but that tank is slowly shrinking.
Yeah.
And then at least with Danny Dyer, you can bring him in for 2 years. Oh, do your stuff, Danny. Get your bollocks out again. Go on, Danny. Go on. Fuck off. And then he can come back 2 years later.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I mean, I highly doubt that that George is on death's door. Like if you wanted to, you could probably have a good like 10, 15 years on the square at least, like happily in his prime. But I get that. Like,
it's just the fact.
It feels like I can definitely imagine him getting killed off to just set up the family, you know? Like, usually when soaps bring in, like, a new family, the mum and the dad usually don't stick around. It's usually just, in about a year's time, the mum's gone because, you know, she wants to do something else. And then the dad's probably dead. So now it's just the kids, like, roaming about.
Yeah. Obviously that won't happen with Ben and Phil because they realise, we can't lose Steve McFadden. Like, people will literally kill us if we kill off Steve McFadden. Well, Phil Mitchell, not Steve McFadden. They're not actually going to run over
I'm going to snuff him out in a video game in Minecraft.
We're going to fucking snap his neck. get behind them. But yeah, so our awards go to George Knight. Lovely photograph of George Knight there with a lovely smile, or just the actor.
If you do all the editing
If he
work, yeah.
can. Look, I'm trying to make it the best I can. So you ready to move on?
Yes.
So your worst storyline so far. So these are obviously storylines from January to June. Some overarching storylines from last year can be included.
Yeah.
Because they might have started in 2022, but they finished in 2023. So they do count. So like your Phil and
Keeble,
which might be my nominee.
I thought about it. I did think about it.
Like that can be in it. The Keanu thing. Like anything with Keanu can be part of it. Sack losing Peaches can be a part of it. Peaches. Peaches. Sorry. Just love Jack Black song. So yeah, what is your worst storyline? Why is your nominees?
Honestly, I kind of drew a blank as to what storylines really like put me off the show this year. So I suppose one thing I'll immediately add, it wasn't put in my suggestions, but it was just Linda's grieving for, just Linda grieving for the first, 4 or 5 months of the year by herself. She was absolutely horrendous and just such a cow to literally everyone. But that wasn't really one of my nominees. I mostly had, obviously, Stacey Slater's, OnlyFans/secret cam. It's only really now starting to perhaps pay off, but the way they kind of crafted it and the way they tried to tell a genuine tale in a time of economic crisis, but kind of just went, oh yeah, she got tits out and then got money, and it's like, lads, this isn't really how it works. You kind of have to find your niche, you have to find the people who are willing to pay you money. I can't just take a picture of my dick and say, here's my OnlyFans, and then have 10 people signing up, That's not really how it works. So they kind of did a bit of a disservice.
I agree with that, if you don't mind me adding.
Yeah, carry on.
I do think that the Stacey storyline doesn't make sense because literally you get your baps out and then people come to you. Well, I know they come, but but it's just it doesn't really make sense. Oh, I'll just get my tits out. Oh, there's $5,000 straight away. Bing bang bosh. Ooh. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And plus how they treated it, I understand from Jean's perspective. Oh, a sex worker.
Yeah.
You slut. You fucking whore. Get on the floor, you whore, and beg for my forgiveness. I understand from Jean's perspective because she's old. But I thought, and Lily, I understand from Lily's perspective, my mom's getting her tits out for money. Yeah, I don't like that because I'll fucking see plastered on the bathroom wall, with two lads there giggling, going, look how saggy they are, look how saggy they are.
Yeah.
But the way they did a disservice, because personally, I think if this was in 1980, sex workers are fuck it,
for sure.
Slap a bitch, punch her in the face, you fucking work for me. It's not like that anymore. Literally anyone can do it. We could do it. We could be at Watching Walford Onlyfans, where we both do gay femboy porn, and our parents might be disgusted, but they would understand.
I suppose just to kind of correct that, obviously there are still sectors of sex work that are very derogatory and very because OnlyFans is now very accessible. Obviously, it's empowered a lot of people to be able to control what they put out into the world. It's not obviously one of the most famous examples is obviously Mia Khalifa, famous adult, just famous porn star essentially. Obviously she revealed that she made no money from doing porn. Despite obviously becoming one of the most known porn stars in the world, being very recognizable, and she revealed the industry is pretty scuffed. So obviously allowing OnlyFans like OnlyFans blowing up has kind of allowed a lot of people to make genuine safe money with being able to control it. And I suppose what I assume Piggy was about to say is just feels like they didn't really like understand that aspect.
Yeah. It's basically, so do you know, like when you create a character, right? So let's just take the Macho Man for example. So like we are tasked to describe the Macho Man to a non-wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So we obviously go, he's muscly. He says, "Oh yeah." He does the elbow drop sometimes onto your cock. Kojima. Yeah, he wears sunglasses. So it's like we said that to a non-wrestling fan, and then they came back with a shit clay model of the Macho Man, where his one left testicle hanging low, his nose is like swung to the right, his eyes like bulging out of him. It's like they went, yes, OnlyFans, you sell porn, and then they went, Dave, give yourself a round of applause. Fucking congratulations. It's like someone just described OnlyFans and they went, yeah, that works.
Done, sold it, ship it. Yeah, fair enough. I do completely agree with that.
20 grand to you, mister. 20 fucking grand to you. But anyways, what's your other storylines? And we can kind of talk about them.
Yeah, obviously had Freddie Slater's ADHD storyline. Another storyline this year that it showed a potential bit of promise, because obviously Freddie Slater is kind of like a walking case of, well, that's probably what ADHD looks like. Has a lot of the traits and tendencies as someone who does have ADHD, but they immediately just went, oh yeah, just go private and you'll be diagnosed immediately. It's like, sorry? Because obviously, admittedly going private's very, like, a lot easier to do, but it felt very convenient that in the span of about 2 months, you suddenly got diagnosed. Whereas most people who do get diagnosed usually can't go private. That one's just a bit of a weird bit because it's obviously the Slaters, and their whole storyline this year is they've been dirt fucking poor. But suddenly he sold a big TV and went private, and it rounds out to the point being anybody who goes for any sort of like behavioral diagnosis or like autism, ADHD, OCD. This process takes years.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt like it was a bit of a disservice to that process. Yeah, there we are. That's another one.
My point to that would be, I agree. I understand from a writer's perspective, you don't want to, like, so say, they say in 2023 you're diagnosed. We're not diagnosing it. We're going to send you for an assessment for ADHD.
Yes.
You obviously don't want to wait till 2027 and be like, Freddie, that storyline that we started in 2023, we can finish it now. We've got your fucking assignment ready. They're doing it the 2nd of March, 2027.
Yeah.
Because obviously soaps don't work like that. And plus, Bobby Brazier, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yes.
Basically, we don't know how long he has on the show.
True.
Because he is pretty young and sexy. So I can see him, I can see that man, like, doing amazing things. I agree. As a person who's probably being diagnosed with, I nearly said dementia.
maybe in 60 years, mate, but
But as a person who is probably going to be diagnosed with autism, I'm still waiting. I'll probably be waiting till I'm about 22. For people who want context, I'm currently 19 at the time of recording this on the 5th of July, unless I somehow go through a time loop.
Yeah, and I suppose even just to give more transparency, I also have been diagnosed with autism, and I started the process in like January 2019 and got diagnosed September 2022. So
he was 18 for context, and he was 21 when
something like that.
Yeah,
just about. Yeah, got it.
I know your birthday. So I pretty much know the years.
Exactly.
I agree. It's also a bit weird that like Theo Hawthorne is just like, Freddie, mate, we're mates. like, I understand you might have this as a worse storyline, but I'm gonna just wrap this together because Theo Hawthorne and Freddie, you know, it's like when you take out jam, you want the butter. He's basically the friend that your friend brings, you know. You don't want to leave him in the corner of the pub and like go hang out with your other friends. You'll just be a sad puppy. So you're like, come on, Theo, we'll bring you with me. And then Theo's like, so do you know the Nazis? They weren't that bad. And you're like, oh no. You know the submarine that sank? You know, the Titanic director just wanted another film. And you're like, oh no, why did we bring you? But yeah, Theo Hawthorne as well. Some teachers might want to keep in contact with you, but it's very rare that your teacher would want to keep in contact with you.
The teacher that bullied you. Like, oh, now mates. What? Why? It's so strange. I do it, yeah.
Like, just to include him in it, because if he was a different, he might be considered for the storyline. But like, it's so weird of how they framed this. Like, I don't understand it, is the thing. Why? Like, I don't know what would be better if they just waited a full year for him to get diagnosed.
Yeah.
Like, at least a full year, you at least have like so you could have, so let's just say that he gets diagnosed and he is announced to have it, and he sends off the referral in like February 2023, and then throughout the months you have Freddie like waiting by the doorstep, like he's about to get a parcel, like, and he's like, oh, it's not this month.
Yeah.
Oh, it's £700. Where am I going to get the money? And like, I understand you might go, it's free healthcare, but you could do a storyline.
It's still a very taxing process.
Yeah, but anyways, we've ranted too much. I've ranted too much about this. Let's go on to your next nominee.
I have one joke one, then I'll finish up with my other actual one.
Okay.
Howie yelling at Kim despite living rent-free in her house. He genuinely just yelled at her for like a month straight. But you know, she did crash the car with his son in it, but he was stomping around her house, eating her food for like a good month before he went, I do love you, Kim, by the way. Like, it's just like, Howie, stop fucking doing it. Just say it's fine. I'm
For context, this would be like if you lived with your brothers, and then you had a massive falling out with your brothers, and then you're like, well, you know what I'm going to do, brother? What? I'm going to still shit in this house, still going to eat in this house, and I'm still going to use the Wi-Fi in this house. Like, I agree, it was the most stupid. Like, I understand it's just one of them, what the fuck's the word? What's the word I'm trying to think of? What's the word I'm trying to think of? Anyways, I can't think of the word at the moment. It's just one of them like plot holes. That's the word. Where like they obviously don't want Howie to get a new house for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then Kim's like, you have to show that obviously he's hurt and doesn't want to forgive her, but he's also dirt poor and living rent free in her house. So you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose my final one is just the blanket as Lily Slater's teen pregnancy storyline. It's just been a rough journey through this one. I expected we were going to see Lily and Ricky like grow together a little bit more, but they've just still been really separate despite parenting a child. And it's been more about the parents rather than Lily as herself. And there's not really been as much happy moments. There's mostly just been sad times. So, what do you reckon? How have you found the teen pregnancy storyline?
Obviously, I will go through my list, but that is number one. That is the worst storyline for me, because, as a fan, you can't trust soap writers, because if a teen gets pregnant, they're either raped, groomed, or having an abortion. Like, there is no in between. So it's so weird where they're doing a storyline where a 12-year-old had sex with another 12-year-old, which might have been 11 at the time. It's just, yeah, like, it's revealed in New Year's, and now they're potentially adding the groomer to the mix of Theo Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, so you know this shit storyline, we're going to make it much shitter by adding a groomer to it. And
Well, I
adding
suppose I will just say,
AD...
at this point, I genuinely don't believe that Theo will groom Lily. I think he's using Lily to, like, make Stacey like him, and then I genuinely believe, like, he will want to be with Stacey and take care of Lily as well.
Yeah.
So
He could be the dead body at Christmas.
We can probably, like, ease on the grooming. I think it's kind of now a bit clearer.
Yeah. But, like, you know, teen pregnancies in soaps don't really go well. Also, the loophole, the fact that, like, when she got her first scan, no one went, Lily, you do know since you're, like, literally just hit puberty, you could fucking die. No one, like...
There can be a lot of complications of young pregnancy.
Yeah, no one just went... I understand they're not real nurses, but in the show they're real nurses. Like, I love how all the nurses and doctors just meant 12-year-old being pregnant, just a regular Tuesday, lads.
Yeah, there wasn't much trepidation towards it.
We had Margaret in here last week, and then before that we had Rhea in here. Fucking don't know what's happening with all these 12-year-olds. But yeah, that's my number one. My nominees are the Keeble storyline. Yeah. I understand it started in 2022, but
it started in like January 2022 and finished in January 2023. But it was a stinker, honestly.
It was a horrible storyline. No, I can't. I was going to say Dottie Cotton, but Dottie Cotton happened last year. I have to remember this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The aftermath of Nick Carter's death,
yeah,
and the fact that we're going to go for an Alfie and Linda dating more than friends, we're friends with benefits.
Yes.
What your thoughts on that one?
Well, it never felt like they were, but it felt like in time. Like if Elaine hadn't kicked Alfie out the pub, it felt like within time Linda was gonna fight poor Alfie and they were gonna get together, but they kind of shit-canned it. So
yeah. I don't really have many more because EastEnders have been hitting home runners. I know this one feels a bit hard or harsh to put on the list, but like, I've dug my grave, baby, and I'm resting with this baby as well.
Say the line.
Okay. No, not fuck you, Lily Slater. It's not Lily Slater. I'm going with the Peaches storyline.
Oh.
It was shit.
Jesus.
It was fucking shit.
Okay.
Like, no offense. Where the baby was, it was alright. It's like the roller coaster we describe Eve and Suki.
Yes.
I was 100% on board with it until it got to the fuck you, Zach. It's all your fault, you. Well, it wasn't revealed he had HIV yet, but it was basically like, fuck you, Zach. And Zach was like, fuck you, Whitney. It's your fucking whatever it is that helps you get pregnant. It's your fucking libido, whatever. It's your fault. Libido, whatever. Like, it just... I want happy in my soul. I don't want two people. I understand grief happens to all of us. I've been grieving my nanny for the past year.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna tack onto this and just... I can understand why it was obviously because they tacked it on with Zach's HIV storyline. It kind of became an afterthought, both the HIV and Baby Peach. And it kind of felt like a weird hurdle in like the trauma cycle that Whitney's in and Zach's now in. I thought the way they handled some aspects were really sweet. Like, some of my favorite scenes of this year were when Zach was sat in the, like, hospital chapel with, like, the, like, blokey bloke trying to, like, get him to open up, and when Whitney was with the nurse. But it feels like they devalued it a fair amount, and it went on a little bit too long. So it's not my personal worst storyline, as I've said.
It's not my worst storyline.
Okay, fair enough.
But because, like, I do think it felt forced. Like, do you remember, like, in wrestling where they wanted to push Roman Reigns, but we regretted it? They basically wanted to push Whitney, and most of the EastEnders fans went, "Hold on, what has she done? Her baby's done."
Yeah, it's the I liked some parts of it, but it is very hard to get invested in the Whitney character, because Whitney does just get at least 1 or 2 traumatic storylines a year, and it's always a good show of how, like, good an actor she is, but it feels like they're just kind of desperately trying to make the character, like, iconic as such, you know, but she's just not that caliber of character.
Obviously my number 1 is fuck you, Lily Slater, and the pregnancy. We've already discussed that. So mine is Lily Slater, and yours is? It's
Lily Slater's teen pregnancy.
Slater? Love you.
I suppose just to cut in here, before we get into best storyline, we've gotten one that we didn't actually prepare for, and I thought of on the fly. I feel like we should do a best villain.
We can. I will include that near the end.
I was just gonna say do it now. Just spice it up.
Okay. We will do best civilian and best film. How about that?
I didn't know what the first one was.
You do not know what a civilian is.
Oh, okay. Sound.
So, okay. Our subcategory: who's the best villain?
I can immediately throw out some names that may be in contention. Obviously, Nish Panesar, probably the most hated man on the square currently. Done a lot of terrible acts, like coercively trying to control Suki, being like almost trying to get Mitch killed. Nearly, there's a chance he could have done that. He mocked Billy the day before Lola died and got him sent into prison for, like, you know, he could have missed the death, and still trapping Suki in a loveless marriage. Do you want to give some of your nominations?
I'm trying to think at the minute. Obviously, Nish is probably my number 1.
Yeah.
Ravi as well. And just because EastEnders made it official, I'm going to throw Theo Hawthorne in there. But my most hated is Nish Panesar. Like, they really want you to hate him.
Yeah.
Even though it's weird to me how on social media they're just treating it like how I treat Theo Hawthorne. He's just a quirky guy. We all cross as
a character, he definitely has layers.
Yes.
And they haven't just presented him as he is just the big bad evil. Obviously, you could throw Keeble in there, but obviously not really. She was garbage. Villains. Who else has been? Obviously, Vinny is kind of slowly creeping up there as a whole.
Ben Mitchell.
And yeah, Ben Mitchell did kind of take on the villain mantle in his, like, part to play in Lola's death, or lack of, like, participation rather. But yeah, that one was just an award pretty much to glorify the work of Nish Panesar this year. He has been incredible since introduced, and I'm very happy to have seen it so far and how it develops.
So Nish, here's an award for you. There you go. There's your award. I just blew dust. So moving on, we're going to our best storyline so far.
Do you want my nominees?
I do want your nominees.
Okay. Once again, I've kind of, the main issue with these is I've kind of drawn a blank because we've done so much content over the last like 7 months or so that like remembering the actual storylines and stuff that went down is kind of like really thrown me. But some of my nominations are obviously the Ravi and Denise affair. Was a very exciting part and was genuinely the first part of the year that I went, oh, like the moment where Jack confronted Ravi about the affair. Like, I was like, adrenaline was flowing through my veins. I'm like, yes, this is EastEnders, boys.
Also, I'm going to bring it up on the podcast this week. Do you know the actor who plays Jack?
Yes.
Scott.
Scott.
He's a massive crypto guy.
Oh, no, he isn't, is he?
He is. I checked his story on the Watching Walford account, and he was shouting out this page, this woman who helps you get crypto.
He could have been hacked, to be fair.
No, I don't think he was hacked because it's literally a real account. It literally, his crypto account was Scott, and then his last name.
Oh, Jesus.
Massive crypto guy.
And I suppose obviously the two other main storylines was the Lola Pearce Brown cancer storyline, which obviously started last year, but you know the bulk of it was in this year. And the other nomination, the Who is Rose Knight? Obviously the introduction of the Knight family and the reveal that Rose Knight is Cindy Beale. Those are my nominations for best storyline so far.
For me, it has to start out at the bottom. Reiss's whole identity crisis, and Rocky, if you want to include Rocky as well, because there was 2 identity crises, that happened this year. But I think Reiss's was much stronger because at the start you feel like you want to hate Reiss, and I think this is where the difference between Rocky and Reiss is. Rocky never cared about his first wife, but Reiss loved his wife.
Yeah.
And seeing her have the stroke, not Jeff Jarrett kind, really affected him. And he was living this lie of a life with Sonia. He was happy with Sonia, but he knew his love is with his first wife.
Yeah.
And then he finally accepted that his wife might be too far gone, and he's now with Sonia for the moment, unless they somehow decide to retcon it.
I don't believe they will.
Like in Beale's boxing career.
I suppose just to add to that, sorry to interrupt, but they definitely. It's always it's kind of like the litmus test, rather. That's where in science you get like a bit of paper to test what pH is in the water. If it's like got acid, if it's got like neutral or like an alkali, you know. Obviously it comes out a separate color, and then it's like, okay, that's the test. That is the liquid I've made. And when you introduce a new character, you have their big explosive main storyline, and that was obviously Reiss developing his relationship with Sonia. But then you got the tragic storyline, which allowed him to do more emotional acting and actually develop the character beyond just, oh hey, Reiss is just that awkward, quirky guy, isn't he? And now it goes, okay, Reiss is actually in love with Sonia, but has had this tragic backstory with his first wife, you know. So they brought in the tragedy, which made you like care about the character, and they did a great job with that storyline.
Just to add on to that, as I always say, I do hope she gets Julia's thing, because again, you guys have to imagine. I understand people might not like Reiss; they think he's a serial killer, which I mean, just look at him. He's a huge bear, teddy bear. Like, you just want to hug him and give him a knuckle sandwich on the head. Like, you just it's just imagine like it's a cold winter's night. It's near Christmas Eve. Sonia and Reiss are sat in the room, mittens on and everything because they
Reiss has
heat
got a big
conditioning.
old Christmas jumper on.
Yeah, he's got a Christmas hat. He's put like a Santa hat on his wife, maybe a fake beard. And Sonia, they're having like they're having pretend Christmas Day dinner
Yes.
with his wife, and then like the heart machine goes beep, 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 and she just dies. And then you have Reiss like crying over his turkey dinner, and Sonia hugs him, and then like you have Julia's theme as you fade up. And if you want to add the animal aspect, you could say Reiss could say, "Oh, her favorite animal was an owl," and then at the end you have an owl appear and fly away. Or you could just have her die.
Yeah. She will likely just die at like an off time, and it'll be sad, but they'll arrange a funeral, and then he'll probably like propose to Sonia or something.
Now that bitch is dead, I love you, Sonia.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. My other storylines is obviously it has been Linda selling the pub.
Yep.
Because I do think it's been a roller coaster as well.
True.
A chalky one is, so I don't really have much to add on about the Linda.
Yeah.
Because it's still kind of developing, kind of. Obviously, chalky one, Ricky Butcher. Ricky Butcher trying to get Sam Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then failing and going off with Scarlett. The Spain or Germany. So yeah, that's a jokey one. There's not many others I can think of, but number one obviously has to go to Lola's cancer. It is the most heartfelt storyline. Oh, another one I forgot to include is the reveal, the Emma storyline, where because that is both good and bad, but like the reveal that like Emma's been trying to get into, what's the word? She's been trying to get into Lola's good books. She's scared a child, and then
don't worry,
just
Emma will make the list later. Don't you worry.
Yeah, she like scares a child, and then that's it. And she tries to get into Lola's good books. Do you have anything to add on to that?
No.
Continue. Number one.
No, carry on.
Number one is obviously Lola's cancer. But like, you feel sorry for Lola. At the start, you kind of don't, because he stands through that funny thing where it's like, so you're diagnosed with cancer, but did you see that Danny Dyer is like doing a handstand on the table of the fic? Like, that's mental. And like, yeah, but she's been diagnosed. Shut up, Danny Dyer's doing a handstand on a table. It's mental. And obviously EastEnders love doing things like that, where they'll introduce something, wait 5 months, and 5 months later they're like, so you remember that cancer? Well, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
So that's my number one pick.
I suppose I can jump in on it. Obviously Lola as a character, everybody likes Lola, but you'd never really been given a reason to truly care about the character. As since she came back in 2019 or something, when Ben came back under the new actor, she really just didn't have much to do. She had a relationship with Jay. She had a relationship with Isaac, who was Patrick's son, who was also suffered with schizophrenia, which I forgot about. Shows how memorable that was. But she had like a little bunk up with Peter, but mostly just a relationship with Jay. And as much as she was a loved character, it's probably the best she would have ever been. They gave a really harrowing, like, solid 9 months or so of genuine, like, suffering, and like, these are all the things she wants to do before she died. And it's probably the most, like, beautiful storyline of the show this year, because the way they did it was a lot more realistic than they would usually go for. And that manifested in one of the most, like, kind of... EastEnders doesn't really do a lot more, like, symbolism or do any fancy lighting. But they really experimented with Lola's death episode and really made it as agonizing as it should have been. So, yeah, Lola's cancer storyline gets the best storyline of the year so far award.
Boom. So we both agree with that.
Yeah.
We're 3 for 3 actually. Because we both had George Knight, Lily Slater, and now, well, I nearly said Linda's cancer, Lola's cancer. Now we're moving on to best on-screen partnership.
Obviously, best on-screen partnership. You didn't really know which angle we were going for with this one. I wasn't sure whether we were going for just comedy or like actual good partnership.
They can be both.
So I went for a mix of everything. Usually it goes to like a good comedy duo. Like if you're a Coronation Street fan, it usually goes to like Roy and Evelyn or like Sally and Tim. You know, the characters who don't get the most hard-hitting storylines, but they do make you laugh. And so in that kind of vein, I went for Reiss and Sonia. Fun duo, a bit of like chalk and cheese type. One serious, one not so serious. I had Bobby and Freddie in the same vein, because, you know, you have the awkwardness of Bobby versus the like kind of stupid amount of confidence that that Freddie has rather. But then I went for some other partnerships like Cat and Phil. It's been the most entertaining Phil Mitchell's been in years. I went for Linda and Elaine because I think it has a lot of promise. And I obviously went for Jay and Lola and Suki and Eve.
Yeah. All great picks.
Your nominations?
My nominations coming in last place. Ricky Butcher and Sam Mitchell. Sorry lads, you didn't do much this year.
Yeah.
Except for your triple egg sarnie, which is had one and it's delicious. You come in last place. Above that is Linda and Elaine again, because we both agree that like they are good picks. Above that is Elaine and George Knight. Yeah. I do think George Knight is a great character, and I want to see more of George Knight. Honestly, if it's just an hour of EastEnders where it's just George Knight, I would watch it. Just George and Reiss on a pub crawl, I would watch. And Theo as well. Above that is Bobby and... No, not Bobby and Freddie. It's Freddie and Alfie.
Another good one.
Another good one. And then above that is Freddie and Bobby. Then above that is Freddie and Theo, because of that quiz. That quiz is fucking brilliant. Like, if for people who don't know what I'm talking about, or like who might have forgotten, there is a quiz episode where Reiss and Theo have a teach off, and fucking Reiss gets very annoyed at the end. And just because of that, I'm putting them at the above Bobby and Freddie. And then above that, in first place, would be Reiss and Sonia, because nothing makes me laugh more than awkward Reiss and Sonia being like the cheery one.
Yeah.
So you'd have Reiss say something kind of outdated but not outdated, like "Gay Dave," and then you have Sonia be
that whole talk about him not knowing Sonia was bisexual. Then he talks about, yeah, well, if you know Dave like has one bunk at one time, he's called Gay Dave because he went to Todger Town. Amazing scene. I suppose if I were to go for a comedy one, I would either go for Reiss and Sonia, obviously probably our favorite pair, or Bobby and Freddie, because both pairings take the worst parts of the other and make up for it, you know. And it's like a really key friendship or relationship, and it's really good. If I want to please the Twitter stands, I go for Suki and Eve. But I won't, because they're now dead again, of course. And if I want to be soppy, I'd go for Jay and Lola, as it's obviously the last time they'd be on screen together. But we didn't really get to see much of them being partners. We just got to see a lot of Jay being her carer. So I'm just going to go for Bobby and Freddie personally. They've given me the most enjoyment out of each other this year.
We have untied now. So yeah. Obviously I went for Reiss and Sonia. He's went for Bobby and Freddie. Bobby B. Honorable mention is Bobby B and Lucy B. So yeah. That joke was supposed to be funny.
All you got was a raised eyebrow from me. Just sorry.
But just like Reese's hairline, it disappeared.
Exactly.
So moving swiftly on, we've worst on-screen partnership, and I don't have any nominees but one. I only have one nominee.
Okay. Hold on. We'll build up to it. Let me go on first. My nominees are Sharon and Keanu, mother and son. Really, that's what it looks like. That's what it always feels like. Like if you told me Keanu was Sharon's kid, wouldn't be surprised. Like it's so. I don't know if the EastEnders writers have romanticized it like that much that they believe that it's genuinely a good pairing, but I believe that they're wasting Sharon's best years doing this bollocks.
I agree with that.
Maybe not best years, just to rectify that statement. Obviously, I also went for Denise and Jack. The bulk of this year's been them at each other's throats. Only now, in July, have they actually shown a glimpse of actually having a decent partnership. Nish and Suki, obviously, that's just kind of in storyline. That's one that makes sense the most. Kim and Howie, because, you know, him just stinking up her place and shouting at her. And I suppose my award, which I will not give out yet. What's your pick, Piggy? I wonder if it's the same. Oh, all right. Fair enough. I've got a better one for you.
Ben and Callum.
Lola and Emma.
Oh.
It was such a shame that they didn't give them enough time. Because I feel like they could have... Basically, the whole Emma Harding character is absolutely tragic. Because it feels like they should have been given her so much more. And so much more of this storyline. But they just didn't know how to write Patsy Kensit in the role. And just made her feel disingenuous. Like, she never felt as if she was just there for Lola. She felt like she was there because she was dying. If that makes sense. And they never got time to just be happy, which is kind of my big like grievance with the Lola storyline. Is it would have been really cool to see, let's say Lola finds Emma like a year before she's diagnosed. They then spend that year living it up. Like there's no tomorrow. And then suddenly, boom, she's dying. And it's like, oh, fuck, you know. But they just kind of, they didn't know what to do with the character. And that's why they get the worst on-screen partnership.
Sticking true to your statement, she did get an award. So, we have untied again. I've gone for Keanu, and he's gone for
Lola and Emma.
Ola? Elo?
I don't know, mate.
I don't know. But if I have to be unbiased, I would agree with Emma and Lola. I do think it was a shame. Like, if you... I wouldn't... Alright, how can I word this?
But the way I can put it is, in another world where they completely changed how Emma was written, Patsy Kensit could be a leading EastEnders character, you know.
She could still be. We don't know.
Yeah, she could still be, but like it feels like they missed the boat completely, you know. That's my
But
take.
as I was saying, if they somehow wanted Lola not to die, before they killed her, I could have seen her leaving with her mom and Lexi.
Yeah.
But they just went, no, Lola's dying, get over it, you sad bitch. And basically threw you to the side, slapped you down, and went, eat that ice cream now. Like, I don't want the ice cream. And they're like, eat it or we'll shoot you. And you're like, okay, I'll eat it, I guess. But yeah, that's just my opinion. So, moving on, we have most improved.
We just kind of gave... Well, I personally selected my nominations on just characters who, as suggested, last year or so, probably weren't even on my radar. I didn't put too many. I kind of just kept it to a bit of a minimum. But I think I've got a decent list. I'll say Zach as a whole. Got a lot more serious stuff this year. Got to develop his character a bit more. He didn't win the award because he wasn't that good. But you know, I'll also have a lot of the teen characters. Obviously, Denzel, Nugget as well has proven that he can actually do serious stuff. And a very sad honorable mention going to Amy Mitchell, who has genuinely become one of the most interesting teen characters on the show. She did a great job showing off her like mental health crisis and her struggling with self-harming. Like, they did a fantastic job of actually building her up to be a realistic teenager. And especially with the amount of trauma and abandonment she's faced. She's really, like, the recast did absolute wonders for the character.
I agree.
Let's get some of your nominations.
So, some of my nominations are... Now, this one might just be recency biased, but I'm obviously going to lump these two together because they were not only spat on, but like, it was non-consensual. They basically grabbed their clothes, ripped it off, and bummed them back ways until they were nothing. And these two characters are Alfie and Ian. Now people are going to go, but we've only seen Ian in one episode. Yes, and in that one episode, he was much better than his 2-year counterpart.
Yeah, in the previous era of EastEnders, he was an absolute detestable prick. As was Alfie as well, so...
Yeah. So we have Alfie and Ian. Then we have Elaine. Elaine, like, being recast was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
We then have Kim. Because the Kim Valencer. I don't know whether you agree with this one, but Jay.
Yeah, no, entirely. Jay's been given Billy. So much more mileage this year.
I'm going to include Jay, Billy, and Honey together, not the 2 kids, the 3 kids together.
Yeah.
Just the 3 main adults. Number 1 is definitely going to be Lola for me.
Okay.
Because, well, it's Lola.
Yeah, this is the best thing she's ever done on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And she went from nothing to doing that. So yeah, no, that's... you probably don't even have to explain it too much.
No.
Well, mine is probably no surprise. I'm going for Kim, honestly. Kim Fox as a character has improved leaps and bounds from last year. Last year, she started all the, like, influencer stuff. But, you know, all of the things she'd say were, like, passing jokes that weren't funny. And, like, oh, I'm an influencer, yeah. But now they've paired the comedy with the emotional depth, you know. Like, when Kim was, like, taking Lola around the hospital in a wedding dress, cracking, like, actually genuinely funny jokes about Lola dying to Lola who's dying. Like, they realized that at some point when you're just cracking harmless jokes, none of it's funny and it just becomes annoying. But now she's actually being given, like, mature stuff to do, but is still, like, cracking out all these funny stuff in the meantime. I've enjoyed her relationship with Denzel, being Howie's son. They've had a very wholesome relationship between them. And she's done a great job of doing all the anxiety stuff. Like, basically, the only thing that would be more surprising than me deciding that Kim's one of my favorite characters would be if suddenly next year Karen Taylor's suddenly my favorite character. Like, what the fuck, lads? Like, I despise the Kim Fox character. She was on my list of, genuinely least favorite, people who I just find annoying. And who else is on that list? Karen Taylor and Bianca. She was low, but she's just become such a good character over the last year, so.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Do you want to carry on?
Oh yeah, sorry, there was a figure revealed, sorry. Best return, sorry. I'm kind of out of it. Best return. Who you got and why?
There weren't too many nominations, best return this year. So I'm just going to go with the three I thought of. That being Elaine Peacock, Lauren and Louis, and the Beals.
Oh, sorry, repeat that, my bottle fell.
I said Elaine Peacock, Lauren and Louis, and the Beals.
The Beatles, gotcha. We all know the Beatles. Ian, Cindy, George Knight, and John Lennon.
Ringo.
Okay. I don't mind all this Ringo slander, but my man did Thomas the Tank Engine. Leave him alone.
Yeah, I suppose it's been a pretty loose year with returns. Not many characters have come back, and any who are coming back are coming back in July or in September. Not many characters actually came back to the square this year, and if they did, they were Ricky came back in December. Sam came back last year, It's not like there just weren't many picks, so obviously it goes to the Beals. As we suggested before in the most improved, they completely rejuvenated the Ian Beale character. He was a detestable mess the last time he was on the show. They brought back the original actor for Peter Thomas Law, which should breathe life into the character. They'll actually treat him properly this time. And obviously you get Cindy, who can kind of act as that matriarch figure, ready to come to the square with her kids. So yeah, they best return so far. Honorable mentions go to Elaine, but she's kind of a weird recast, so I'd imagine your pick as well are the Beals.
Reiss, obviously. I'm only messing. So, in last place is Emma. Now, she's kind of disqualified, but not disqualified, because she did leave, but she did come back.
Yeah.
So she's in last place. Above that is Reiss. Because Reiss started in December.
Yeah, no,
had one shag, left and came back.
Yeah.
Does Jasper the Parrot count?
He was never in there before.
Damn it. He's best newcomer. Obviously, Jo returned, or I think that's her name, Jo.
Jo Cotton, yeah, technically. I suppose another person you could have said is Ryan Malloy.
No, he was shit.
Well, he's in a different category, so.
So yeah, obviously number one is of course the Beals. Yeah, so we both agree with the Beals.
Yeah.
We can't really explain it because they literally only came back.
Yeah. And
they will.
We've also done so much content on the Beals' return. So if you haven't heard it and you're just suddenly watching this, watch all the other stuff. Come on.
We have best episode so far.
I suppose I'll just take this. My nominations. There's actually been a fair few like best episodes so far. Just in no particular order. The flash forward 38th anniversary episode, where we see the big six and the obviously who like someone dies at Christmas. That's up there. It was a really exciting episode in a week that was rather forgettable. We obviously have Lola's death episode that was dedicated solely to her. We have the Knights arrive, you know, George, being established on the square. We obviously have the Who is Rose Knight episode, which is the Beals in France. We have Jack and Denise's affair revealed. And finally, just a bit of an honourable mention, the Lola's funeral. What are your picks, Biggie?
Mine are mostly the same as yours.
Yeah.
Starting at the bottom, we have the pub quiz episode. Then moving, I understand that was a B plot, but let me have this.
It was a good episode. It was a fun episode.
Above that, it's the reveal episode for Reiss, where Reiss is like found out and
yes.
tries to explain to Sonia, and he's sleeping in his car, and an officer knocks on his window and is like, "Oi mate, fuck off." And then Reiss gravels to the front door, asking Sonia, "Can he go for a piss?" Like, just some great scenes. Above that is Shirley Carter's, kind of leaving episode.
Yeah.
That happened this year, didn't it?
It did.
Then above that is, of course, the Knights who debut. Above that is Lola's death. Above that is the 38th anniversary. And to top it all off, the Beatles return is my number one pick. Your number one pick?
Yeah, sorry, it is the same, honestly. Like, it could have been the Lola death episode, but I just didn't cry. Which really annoyed me. Because I was sad all the way in the build-up. Oh, I suppose also the Margate episode. The episode where Jay and Lola went to Margate. That's up there.
That's up there. You look beautiful tonight.
That is a very close second, but it is just the Beals in France. They just... I'm pretty sure you said that probably should have just been the 38th anniversary episode. Like, it was so good.
That should have, if I could change anything, I'd do the flash forward in June.
Yeah.
And I introduce the Knights in January, and then do the whole Rose Night reveal.
Yeah.
I've been kissed from a rose.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose very special mentions goes to that Margate episode, because that was probably the best acted EastEnders of the year. If I'd have to argue. But yeah, unfortunately, it is just the Beals returning, because it was just so good. Like, it's so hard to fight against it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, for people who want to know, for people who want to know the lyrics to A Kiss from a Rose.
No, we're not doing the lyrics from A Kiss from a Rose.
Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grey, or the more I get of you, stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, our light hits the gloom on the grey. Ba-da-ya-da, ba-da-ya-da, ba-da-da-da-da.
There we are. Let's go into Best Exit. Your nominations, please.
My nominations?
Yes.
We didn't have many exits. Emma is at the bottom. Obviously. She's at the barrel of the bottom. I understand Mick Carter doesn't count, But
Yeah, he left in Christmas.
December. But he would be on my worst exit, which we'll get onto after this. Shirley Carter's up there.
Yeah.
Joe Cotton leaving and then coming back, obviously. Emma leaving and coming back. I can't think of many more.
All right, well, I'm going to go through... bollocks. When did Finley leave, as a question? Was it in July or was it late June?
It was the last week of June.
Okay, so that does count, because obviously Finley got the most character development he had the entire year he was there. And my other nominations were just Ricky Butcher. Didn't really have a good exit, but he was just a good character for the 2 months he was there. I just wanted to give him some shine. Sam Mitchell's exit, where it kind of turned out that she was just really lonely and she needed to find like a purpose for herself. They added some depth to a character who mostly just makes funny euphemisms. Obviously Shirley Carter, I forgot about her exit, but it kind of felt like it. When Shirley left, it felt like the end of an era. Like the Carters are done on the show. There's now only Linda. So that was it was a cool exit. I think I underrated it, but mostly just because I was too like I was nervously doing all of the Watching Walford stuff, so you know, it was a lot of effort. But obviously the best exit goes to Lola. She had such a great send-off, and we've already talked stuff about Lola so much, so yeah. Who is your best exit of the year so far, Piggy?
It's obviously it's of course everyone's favorite, the Bulldog who left with Shirley. Of course.
Don't even remember his name.
Lady
Di. There we are. Got it. Perfect stuff.
I'm only messing. It's Lola.
Yeah. But I suppose definite seconds come to Shirley. If I watched the exit again, I'd probably enjoy it more. I think the main issue with the exit is I heard that she was just going to come back in a couple months, so it really kind of ruined the exit for me. But now knowing that she's gone for like a good year or so, it would probably hit a bit hard. I suppose this segues on to the next award, Piggy.
Worst exit.
Yes. Given to those who struggled to hit the mark and just bowed out pretty unceremoniously. There weren't too many exits so far this year, so I'm obviously going to give it to... I'm just going to say all the nominations. You had Ash Panesar, who just went, I'm going to go to Canada, and then she's like, I've gone to Canada. Cool. You had Vi Highway, the old lady character, Callum's Nan, who just bowed out realizing... I don't even remember what she realized. She just went, maybe I should just leave. Next you have Emma Harding, who went away to America, then came back for 2 minutes, for 5 seconds at the funeral, then ran away again. And before I go into my worst exit, anything else I've missed, Piggy?
No. Finley had a weird exit. Peaches as well.
Just bringing all the hate for Peaches.
Peaches. That's all I can really think of. Emma, of course.
Yes.
As well. Not many other... Keeble, I guess.
Yeah. And, well, I can guarantee it's yours as well. Obviously, the worst exit was Ryan Malloy. He came back for about 4 days and then just went, what? You're not letting me adopt your kid's child? Well, I'm taking away your child support. And it's like, it feels like, let's be honest, the actor's not really in high, kind of demand. He could have spent more than 4 days on the show. It's just, it set up so much in, the following months. And it became an overarching plot line, but they just tanked the character completely. most people look back on Ryan as like fairly fondly, but he was just a pawn in Lily's teenage pregnancy. So it's just really disappointing. Like in previous years, when Sean came back, it's like, oh, this is fucking cool. You know, a good character who's being given like the gravitas he deserves. Had like a full couple of weeks dedicated to him. Ryan, like 4 episodes or something. Like, it's just garbage. It really wasn't good.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Not much I can add. You pretty much said everything. So, will we move on?
Yes. Yeah, let's move on.
Most underrated.
Oh.
For those who are underrated on the show, or who we think are underrated.
I'm sure I'll take a drink a second.
That's fine. So how are you people?
Alright, so obviously underrated. The characters who haven't really received the praise they deserve. Obviously it's also gonna come into like my dumb favorites, of course. But I'm just gonna throw out a couple names. Obviously Bobby Beale. Always been a favorite of mine since the recast. Just plays that awkward teen very well. As always, gotta love that. Amy Mitchell, as I said earlier, went from being a generic teenager to now being a troubled teenager with reasonable trauma and actually wants to do good and not just cause chaos. Bernie started working at the cafe this year, gave her more scenes and more stuff to do. Mitch Baker, obviously, one of the older members on the square, just stands there and like talks to his kids and is like the everyman. And finally Patrick, who has been given a bit more of a role as of this last year. You know, he's kind of been that like wise uncle character who's given everybody the right advice. So who are your nominations for most underrated, Piggy?
Mostly okay, sorry, I was distracted. Bobby Beale, Freddie Slater, Alfie Moon. I know people praise him.
No, but Alfie has been fairly underrated this year, I will argue.
Yeah. George Knight's cat, like keeping all that hair there. That's a jokey one. Amy Mitchell. Theo Hawthorne. He's just a quirky guy, guys. He's misunderstood. Okay, he's misunderstood. I'm trying to think. Lou Beale, or not Lou Beale, fucking the child. the child of
Louis
Beale. Nearly got it right. Lou Beale, back from the dead, baby.
I wish.
Next up, Hillsbilly. I'm only messing. That's our 1985 soap awards ready. Yeah. Obviously, number one for me is... Who's your number one?
Mine's Amy Mitchell, honestly. Like I said earlier, she became a genuinely decent character and well-rounded. I enjoyed all of her mental health stuff. But I also enjoy that she's now getting to be a bit more like snarky teen a bit more now. So she's genuinely went from a character who you couldn't care less for, and is now actually I don't complain when she comes on the screen. High praise.
Fair enough. Mine is going to go to Gene Slater if I can.
Yeah, sure.
And if I can't have Gene Slater, it'll go to Harvey. So
okay.
They both can share that if it can't go to Gene.
It can go to Gene. Gene's not really done much this year, honestly. Gene had like a really big year last year, but this year's been very dialed back. So yeah.
Mine is Gene Slater. Congratulations, Gene. And congratulations, Amy. And also congratulations to Harvey, because you also are in this award. So 2 women,
By
1 man,
proxy.
by proxy. So yeah, not much I can add on. We'll move on to the next award.
Which is
should I?
Best Actor.
Actor.
Funnily enough, I haven't actually written the names down. So I've just written them in the character names. Obviously written down Ravi, Galati. I don't remember his name. He's like Aaron Tiara something. Obviously Billy Mitchell. That's Perry Fenwick. Jay Brown is Jamie Borthwick. Reiss Colwell, Johnny Freeman, George Knight, Colin Salmon, and Nish Panasar, Navin Chowdhury, I believe.
Yeah.
Who are your picks, Biggie?
People probably know mine.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. People probably know mine. It's obviously gonna be Sonia Fowler. I do think she's a. She's in Best Actress.
She's in
Sorry.
Best Actress.
Oh, whoops. You can tell I've had too many fruit shoots. Johnny Freeman is my number 1. And going below that, I'm gonna give it to Mr. Crypto himself, Scott.
Okay.
Below that, I'm going with George Knight or Colin Salmon. Below that, Alfie Moon, Shane Ritchie. Even though I don't like him, the person who plays Keanu. And then below Keanu is Theo Hawthorne. So yeah, they're my nominees. Anything you want to add to any of these?
I'll be honest. I don't know where yours is coming from. Best actor. A lot of the actors you panned for being garbage. But sure, I'll just go with mine. Mine's obviously Navin Chowdhury, who plays Nish Panasar. Has played an absolute blinder of a villain so far, and plays it with such a level of complexity that you really want to hate him, but he still somehow is likable. You're still you're an absolute bastard, but how come I'm on your side? It's absolutely mental how complex the character has been allowed to be. So
fair enough. Mine, even though I shit on them, they are pretty. Mine are just because I find them funny and shit. So yeah, shout out to them. Moving on, we have Best Actress, which I
you didn't actually give who won.
Oh, Johnny Freeman.
Okay, fair enough. Carry on.
Best Actress. You can tell we haven't planned this out.
We tell that we planned it out vaguely, and it's also we've been doing this for an hour 20, and we're no longer full of beat. But there's only 2 more awards left, so let's give it all we got.
Yes. Best Actress. I only obviously I'll go first. So I'm going with the character's name mostly, because I'm not spending all that time researching the characters' real names. In the bottom we have Sonia Fowler. Above that is Lily Slater. Above that is her slut of a mom, Stacey Slater.
Sorry.
What did I say?
Wow.
How you've changed, Piggy. How you've changed. Above that is Jean Slater. I'm trying to think now. Above that is Amy Mitchell. But my number 1 is going to Lola.
Yeah, of course. Likewise, I had similar. I did give it to Lola personally, but some of the honorable mentions has been Stacey Slater. She's been on fire this year. Suki Panasar as well. Would have been higher, but she just keeps on jumping in and out of the closet, and that's just frustrating to see continually. Eve has dealt with a lot of good stuff this year. I had Whitney there as well, just because, but I also, part of me wants to give it to Denise, because I like Kim. Denise has received a lot of like really good writing this year, and has actually shown why she deserves to be there, and why she is like, basically like why it is a privilege to have her on the show. And I didn't understand why till this year. But it is going to go to Lola, because she truly knocked it out of the park with the storyline. And there's not really much else that needs to be said. And Piggy, we're nearly at the end. There's one final award, mostly for me, but it is Best Soap of the Year.
So far. Give us your nominations or your nominees.
I mean, obviously, there's 3 main this year. I do as just, obviously this is mostly just for me, as I'm like the like resident like soap fan. Piggy just mostly watches EastEnders. So obviously I've been watching I've watched a lot of 2015 Hollyoaks this year. I watched a lot of Coronation Street, and I watched a lot of EastEnders. There are some times where Emmerdale could have been on my list, but unfortunately I just haven't had enough time to watch it this year. And out of my like soap priorities, it's not up there. I've also watched a bit of Neighbours this year, as it's obviously being released in September, the new episodes, and they've been releasing like some years before in advance. So I've had a great time. But obviously, unfortunately, EastEnders isn't winning. Now let me justify that by saying EastEnders has been in a very good point. And it is genuinely very close between my first and second. But the main issue with EastEnders is it feels like there are still some like hangovers or some like layabouts from like previous like writers. Like the Lola and Jay being back together and being soulmates really kind of ruined me, because it's like, lads, you weren't even together that long, all things considered, you know. Like, there was a lot of details that the previous... Basically, they had to smooth over a lot of details that the previous executive producers didn't really want to care about. Like, you know, Jay and Lola are soulmates, yeah, but they've never really been together that long in the grand scheme. Obviously, they've been kind of traumaing up the Ben Mitchell character, as they've been doing for years. And I think they've kind of... The scope sometimes that they look at the storylines is really questionable. Like, obviously, Ben and Lola and Jay being soulmates. And obviously, remember when Balam... Obviously, this isn't this year, but, you know. Remember when Balam were first, like, getting married? And then they did that big press cycle of how... Ben and Callum, just 2 working class lads who are destined to be together. And it's like, sorry, I don't know what the fuck you've been watching, lads, but it ain't fucking EastEnders. That's not how it works. And I feel like there's a lot of hangovers from there. And that's why my best soap of the year so far goes to Coronation Street. And why is Coronation Street won out over EastEnders? Well, they did a very good acid attack storyline this year, and it gave like center focus to 2 characters who you kind of like, but you don't really know that well. And it kind of developed into this weird, like, interesting love triangle between like 3 characters, and it's like really, really cool. They kicked off the motor neurone disease storyline with Paul, another character who I didn't really care about too much, but slowly I'm kind of getting more invested. The one biggest takeaway that nearly made EastEnders won is the Stephen Reed serial killer storyline, because to me he's just a very shit version of Richard Hillman, and it kind of takes away a lot from the show. But unfortunately, Coronation Street does win for me. And I'm not really sure what much, Piggy, you're going to say about this award, as you only watch EastEnders.
I'm giving it to the one that Ash said, Coronation Street. And yeah, they've been on a pretty good year. So yeah, thank you.
And I suppose EastEnders is at a point where it can definitely start to go for like the best prize as such. But a lot of my issues with EastEnders is because there never used to be much of an archive for the episodes. There's something about it, like going back and watching older episodes, that just kind of, I don't know, something about it feels wrong. So the second I start watching older episodes, EastEnders will probably go back up in my estimation. But yeah, these have been the halfway year soap awards. All the episode, or all the things that we've covered on the show, and from the month of January all the way to June. I would say write up your own awards in the comment section down below, but I don't think anybody wants to spend that much time going through it. But regardless, we will obviously do one at the end of the year where we talk through our like second half of the year awards. And obviously we'll be reflecting a little bit on the year and how it's been. But I've been Ash for Watching Walford, and I've been joined by Piggy.
Bonjour, senor.
And that has been a rather packed edition of the Halfway Soap Awards. Thank God we're only doing it twice a year. But
who knows? We might do a classic EastEnders award.
But yeah, it's been a good 6 months. Obviously, we started from nothing, and now we're here, 7 months on, still trucking with the EastEnders. So, if there's anything to celebrate, it's the fact that we're still here, and you're still here. And if you're still here after 1 hour 31 minutes of us rambling on about awards, good fucking riddance. Time to go off to bed or outside for a walk. I've been Ash from Watching Walford, and been joined by Piggy. I've done this before, but any final words?
Who needs slapping down?
No one, because those awards are jokes. They're all jokes. They're the nerds in comparison to our actual awards.
I've been Piggy resigning from our awards section. Follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram at Watching Walford. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Watching Walford. We will be opening an Onlyfans account at Watching Walford, where Ash will sell his knob pics while doing helicopter poses. So yeah, if you want to see that, follow us on OnlyFans. See ya.
Bye bye.